Good morning. How's everybody this morning? Good morning, y'all, I should say. I know a couple of you are from the nearby area, but a lot of folks from all over the country and the world here today. Thank you for being here. We're going to talk a little bit today about our experience in Austin with the Austin Ed Fund and how we've been able to really step up and support the priorities and educators in Austin ISD. I do have a few team members here. Would y'all raise your hands? So basically everything that I'm presenting, they're responsible for. So if you really want to know the scoop, you need to talk to them after this presentation. I'm going to come back to this slide a few times during our presentation today. The magic, the secret sauce. Yeah, you're going to walk out of here transformed, I can tell. Really, when it boils down to what are the key elements that have allowed us to do some of the things that I think we're most proud of, it boils down to systems and relationships. No surprise here. Systems. What are the pieces that you're putting into place in your organization around governance? For us, stewardship is critical. And of course, staffing. This work takes people, and it takes dedication to systems and leadership to make it work. For us, with the Austin Ed Fund, Austin ISD's Public Education Foundation, it's a 501c3 nonprofit, right? So we have an independent board of directors, amazing group of people that have really come together to be champions for Austin ISD students, staff, and families. So figuring out how that board is structured, what are the bylaws, all of those non-sexy, non-fun things that you have to do, all of that goes into this work. Relationships, so critical. We know this in our world, we know. Relationships with our school district, being aligned with our leadership, being aligned with our elected officials, and really being able to support that vision. Relationships with educators at the campus level, and then of course relationships with our community. And that leads to activation, so planning, design, partnerships, and fundraising. Now I will tell you, when I started at Austin ISD almost 10 years ago, a couple of really good friends and colleagues of mine reached out and said, "What are you doing? You're going to work for a public institution, a bureaucracy, a big system at the central office? Like, you've gone crazy." And it is true. There are days, if you've seen the movie Office Space, that feel very bureaucratic, right? There are moments when you are working on your TPS reports or your forms or any matter of kind of process that's put in place. Have y'all seen that movie? Okay, because I'm old now, so okay, we got it. We got someone in the back. And there are also moments, so many of them, where you are reminded about the power and the value of public education and the system and the promise that it can provide. It is flawed, for sure. We all know that. We've been examining that closely, those of us who work in the system. And there's so much opportunity that we have just begun to tap. So on the good days, it looks like this. This is a school in our district, an educator, and I'm looking at Benito Fazbanda, who's the tallest man in the picture. So we have amazing educators in Austin ISD, and we believe in supporting them. They inspire students every day. Through the Austin Ed Fund, we started a program in 2015 to support the creative, innovative ideas of our teachers. We thought it would be a great program. We thought teachers would appreciate it. We thought it would be successful. We had no idea the impact that it would have. And really fueling that creativity at the classroom level, would be amazing. So right now, Benito is an assistant principal at a neighboring elementary school. This was a few years ago. And he has taken a summer program and has planned it for his new elementary school to keep his students engaged in the school and learning over the summer. And we've been able to help support him as he's taken that idea to a new campus and bringing that to more people. Just a few other examples. So we've supported over 300 different projects, led, created, developed by educators, totaling over $1.4 million since the beginning of this program, and we're hoping to continue to grow that. We, again, on the good days, which there are so many, it looks like this in our work. So we have worked at the system district level to help our leadership plan and develop visions to dream big around their work. One example is our food services team at Austin ISD. You know, they every day run about 120 different restaurants across Austin. If you think about the operational capacity that they have in our schools, it is amazing. And often, we know the students in our schools, you know, they may change teachers frequently, they may have different relationships with different educators in the classroom, but they know the cafeteria workers in our schools and have relationships with them. Our food services director, we sat down with her when she arrived at Austin ISD, this was many years ago, and she had a vision around transforming food service in Austin ISD. Now you can find more scratch cooking in our schools, food trucks at our high schools, salad bars at all of our schools, things that we were, you know, historically used, like, we can't do this for all kinds of reasons. Well, we were able to help map out a strategy and then secure partnerships to support that change at the system level. Similar work has occurred around social-emotional learning, an initiative our district has been dedicated to for the last decade. And then this is an initiative related to social-emotional learning for caregivers called the Families as Partners program, started with a grant from the Kellogg Foundation years ago. This is a group of parents who participated in a Promotora program at their graduation, and it reminds me of the story of one parent who participated as a volunteer in classrooms working on literacy supports for elementary school kids in her child's classroom and the classroom of her children's grade. Well, she went on to receive her paraprofessional certification and become a teaching assistant working in that school employed by the school district. So really powerful work at the system level. This is a joy. This is joy, by the way, like the emotion, joy. I just, like, as I looked at it, it was like, you could wonder what's happening in this picture. Years ago, we were able to help coordinate and connect with 3M, who made a $1.4 million contribution of school supplies to our educators, and she had just received her school supplies. She was so excited and happy. So we're really excited that our office and our team has become a place in the district to say yes to partnerships, to make it easy for people in the community and organizations to give back to public education in Austin, and make it easier for campuses and educators to access those supports. And this is an example of that. Another upcoming example is we're working on a partnership with Derek Johnson's foundation. He's retired from the NFL and returned to Austin, and is working on a partnership renovating school libraries. And part of that is updating collections in school libraries to make sure the books in some of our libraries with the oldest collections are updated and represent the students served on those campuses. Just two small examples. Now, when we think back with all of the examples, you can imagine the systems and the relationships that have gone into making that happen across our district. A good example of that, we have a district-wide crowdfunding platform that we have made available to every campus in the district. We manage that and support it, but it's available to all of our schools. Some of our schools have strong PTA support, may not need to access that as much, others don't, and we provide that to all of our schools in the district. Really no example has showcased more what the systems that have been built over time, the relationships that have been built over time, have allowed us to really activate and support students, staff, and families in Austin than what's happened over the last 2 years during the pandemic. 2 years ago, this Friday, as many of you know, we shut down that day, and over that next weekend, we stood up what we called the AISD Crisis Support Fund. We weren't really sure the support that would be needed at that time, but we knew that it would be a vehicle for the community to give back and support. Since then, the Crisis Fund has raised over $10.2 million to support our students, staff, and families. Really, initially, that support looked like connecting kids to education, making sure we had technology in place for students that were learning remotely. We really ramped up our grant program for teachers that you saw at the beginning, making sure teachers had what they need to stay connected to their students. And a lot of our teachers had amazing creative ideas for how to do that. One teacher at Jordan Elementary planted a garden and named a plant after each one of her students, and had video lessons with her students where she talked about the plants and how they were growing and all of these things. It was just amazing. So we supported in that way. We also supported basic needs for families, financial assistance for families, staff that were impacted also by our winter storms last year around this time in Austin. One of the hallmark programs in that initiative, though, was our Caregiver meal program. When it was over, we had provided 1.65 million meals to caregivers. We did that alongside our student meal program, so we were providing curbside delivery for students. What we were hearing anecdotally is that students were having to share those meals with the caregivers in their homes. And so we worked with local philanthropists to fund the initial stages of this program, and then we were able to secure a partnership with the City of Austin to support that program more at scale for longer term. We're very grateful that we had the systems and infrastructure in place to execute on that, if you can imagine, both on the Education Foundation side and our food nutrition services side. And I mentioned the work that we had done with them over a period of years, right? So we had those systems ready to go. I'm not saying it wasn't a significant amount of work to pull that off, Lindsay Stewart, but we had some of the basics and that practice of building relationships and structure in place to be able to pull that off. Another outcome of that project is we were able to partner with local restaurants. So some of our most beloved Austin restaurants, you should check out while you're here, participated in that program, and we know that we were able to keep at least 100 employees of local restaurants in their jobs during the course of the pandemic. So it really benefited a lot of aspects of our community. Now, all of that is great and cool, but really represents is the power of our community. And one story that really sticks with me is the story of Diane Murray. She's a teacher at Martin Middle School, just across I-35 in East Austin. And she had received Austin Ed Fund. She's received a few Austin Ed Fund grants over the course of time. She was teaching photography. She discovered that many students in her class did not have a family photo. So her grant that she asked for was for $700 to take for students to be able to take family portraits. Very cool, amazing project. But that's really not the story I wanted to tell you. We had an event for the Austin Ed Fund. Actually, it was here, wasn't it? In this very ballroom, opened up. So there were a bunch of people from the community there in support of the Ed Fund and Austin ISD. really a lot to celebrate in that room. We invited teachers to come and participate in that event, share their stories of what was happening in their classroom with their community members. On the way out of that event, Miss Murray stopped me and she said, "Michelle, I never realized that the community cared about what was happening in my classroom." The power of community, not just to support this project, which was amazing and offered some transformative opportunities for students and her relationship with them, but to be able to show Miss Murray that the community supported her in ways she didn't quite realize before. And then, of course, we received a few really wonderful notes from our crisis fund support from families who were able to benefit from the financial support they received during the pandemic. This is a note that I think we all cherish. We believe in miracles from a family who benefited from that support. And this is Arya. So he's a student at Murchison Middle School. And this last year, we asked our students to share with us what community means to them. So I'd like for him to share his poem with you now.
It's all about the community. It's all about sticking together. Peace is in the community, helping others that you know, no matter whatever. A community is like a group. They stick together like a unit. A community is like a group. If you're going through something, they'll help you get through it. Put aside our differences for the greater good. When you're in the community, you can always count on being understood. It doesn't matter your color in the neighborhood. If you stay positive, you can always do the greater good. It's all about a sense of support around you. Everybody's loving and they won't ever doubt you. No matter what you've done, they'll always be proud to. The community will back you up with the real truth.
Thank you. Thanks to Arya, and thank you to all of you for listening today. I hope this presentation has given you some ideas, questions about how you can better support your public school district, or ways that you could work with your education foundation in your community, or just ideas or questions in general. I appreciate you listening, and thank you so much.